It was quiet, the air calm and peaceful. But despite our business being over, there was no sign that Guy was leaving. Skillfully, Shuna poured a refill into Guy's empty teacup. She had a separate pot on hand for serving, so the remaining tea leaves wouldn't get used up too quickly. Man, you good, you know that. None of the chuckleheads working for me could do any of this. I'm flattered, my lord. Benamir looked a little worried, but Shuna was unfazed, retaining her wits and not letting Guy bowl her over. Hey, you think I could have Misery and Rain train under you for a little while? Train? Yeah. I want you to teach him how to bake cakes like this. They cooked for us at the Walpurgis Council, actually, and I thought it was a pretty nice spread, but when it came to desserts, Shuna had a clear edge. She was neck and neck with Mr. Yoshida in the race to invent new taste-tempting offerings, so she was polishing up her skills by leaps and bounds. Anyway, what answer should I give Guy? I thought about just telling him to come over here and buy from us, but no need to be that stingy. Shuna, could you teach this recipe to the two women in the adjacent room later? I would be glad to. You'll need our quality ingredients to make it, keep in mind, but maybe we can cut you a deal on them later. We refined our sugar to keep any impurities from mixing in. Maybe we could add a couple sacks to our production quotas and pass them on to Guy. You okay with that? Sure. And I meant that. I wasn't giving away our tech, but if we had buyers for our product, I wasn't going to hoard it. Having Guy invite himself into our nation whenever he wanted might cause some grief, I feared. But aides like Misery knew how to activate and run transport gates, so I was sure we could just send our goods through there once we finished making them. That, and I had some other thoughts, too. If Guy found us useful, keep in mind that all but guaranteed our security as a country. The deeper our ties with foreign nations, the more it connected to our own safety. Two countries needing each other meant that they couldn't rattle the saber too casually. A regional economic zone is as good as a strong military alliance in my book. That was my pet theory. Now that I had enjoyed several conversations with Guy, I was starting to realize that he wasn't quite the block-headed despot I thought he was. He was surprisingly rational and understanding, too, and his dealings with Diablo demonstrated that he wasn't afraid of getting his hands dirty. I'd like to hope he saw us as useful enough that he wouldn't make any unreasonable demands. So you mind going home soon? But my tiny little wish was soon crushed. Hold on. Before I leave, there's one thing I need to ask. What? Is there something we haven't covered yet? Yes. Why did Diablo evolve? I thought he didn't notice, but I guess I was kidding myself. I hate dealing with people as perceptive as he is. Well, now what? What kind of response would Guy be willing to accept, even? And not just Diablo, either, huh? It took a while to scope out what was happening over in your labyrinth, but how come you got all those guys down there at true demon lord strength? Guy's lips were smiling, but his eyes sure as hell weren't. I guess cheap excuses weren't going to work. Understood. You could frame it as experimentation with your Beelzebub skill, and that should be acceptable. God is good. Right, let's do that. That's the Raphael I know. I can always count on the dude at times like these. So you know, I've been experimenting with my powers a little bit lately, to see if I can beef up our forces for the battle against the Empire. As I did, I discovered that one of my skills has a pretty interesting side effect I can take advantage of. Oh? What kind of side effect? I dunno. Tell me, Raphael. Understood. The effect of reverting souls into pure energy and granting them to those capable of awakening. Call it forced evolution, and that should be enough explanation for the subject Geek Crimson. Oh? That is what I did, isn't it? That whole evolution ritual harnessed the power of Beelzebub, not Raphael. This was the unvarnished truth, even. I wouldn't be lying or hiding anything from Guy. This might just be the way to go, actually. Beelzebub, you see, can take people's souls and convert them back into energy. Then I can grant that soul energy to other people, you see. If they're not qualified for it, it won't do anything at all, but... Aha. So if someone has the seed for it, they can get awakened that way. Wow. Guy seemed convinced. I suppose he could tell I wasn't lying to him anyway. Raphael saved my bacon once again. Yeah, well, with wars in this world, individual strength is a lot more important than vast numbers, right? So it's a given that I'll want to enhance my team's individual skills. Yes, that makes perfect sense. By the way, I've been thinking this for a while. But you're pretty abnormal, aren't you? Huh. No, I'm not. No, I mean, slimes don't usually talk, you know. And I've been letting that slide, but then you won over Valdor somehow. You built up this whole town. It's just not normal, by any stretch of the imagination. Are you a reincarnate, maybe? You are, Arentia. Oh, you didn't know. Yeah, I died in a different world from here, and then I got reborn as a slime with my mind intact. Seriously. Seriously. We stared at each other. No, really, he didn't know. I thought we had broken this down ages ago. I'd been pretty public with this fact, and it was a famous story over in the Western nations, too. I thought for sure that Guy would have heard it somewhere or other. Maybe it's not always a good idea to assume the other party knows everything you think they do, not that I misspoke or anything, but it was something to watch out for. Don't want to give out too much information just because I want to keep the conversation going. It's really true. Yes, it certainly is. Sir Rimuru never lies. Why is he so doubtful about this? Now he's turning to Benimaru and Shuna for confirmation, the bastard. Ah ha 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 ha. Whoa. I always assumed you were a pretty screwy monster, but that's the story behind you, huh? Simply being reincarnated between worlds is a rarity in itself, but you got reborn as a monster. Man, talk about a bad break. Guy let out another belly laugh. I didn't see it as all that funny. But now it all makes sense. If you traveled between worlds in soul form and still managed to keep your mind intact, well, no wonder you've got such a tough and hard core to you. It explains why you're picky about retaining a human form, too, and maybe why you evolved so insanely fast and got those ultimate skills. So in short, I'm a stubborn old ass, huh? Well, maybe. I like to think I'm pretty thick-skinned, not to brag. Never give up, never lose heart, always think positive, that's what I live by. It's that convincing to you, huh? Yep. You always struck me as a shady guy, but now I think I can really trust you, after all. That's just rude, isn't it? But I'll forgive it. I can't beat him in battle anyway. And I certainly don't want him all suspicious and hostile around me. Again, the power of positive thinking. Well, I'm glad we got that cleared up, and I think I've asked you about everything I need to. So I imagine you'll be heading. Oh, can I get some more of this? Certainly. I was about to push Guy back home when he interrupted me and brazenly demanded a second slice of cake. Shuna immediately sprang into action, and it'd be weird if only he was eating, so I asked for another slice, too. Stress eating isn't a good habit to acquire, but I just wanted some sugar to perk me up. But Guy got in my way yet again. So, Rimuru, let's go back to what I was asking. I had a gut feeling that this was going to be painful. Huh? Asking about what? You awakening your team members here. Because it sounded to me like you could share some of your power with my servants, too, but what do you think? Sound possible, or what? This dude's just like me, isn't he? Incredibly shrewd, trying to take advantage of anything useful. Making me think the conversation is over, only to pull the just one more thing killer blow. Not that I'm this blatant about it. Or maybe I am. No point pondering that, though. He needs an answer, and for that. Understood. It is possible. Oh. The guy answered me before I even thought of the question. That made me feel a little sad, somehow. I could almost feel it, thinking I'm getting sick of dealing with you. Understood. There is no such intention. Something about this exchange made me think it's incredibly angry at me. Better not prod it any further. Raphael's all I have to rely on, so if it gave up on me, I'd be at the end of my rope. Right. Now for a more serious question. If I built a soul corridor between myself and Guy's servants, whoever they are, would that still work? Affirmative. Forced intervention is now possible even if you do not share a common soul lineage with the monster in question. The target must not resist the connection, but as long as it is qualified to awaken, an infusion of energy is capable of inciting evolution. Roger that. This just leaves one problem: how many of my souls did it consume? I don't know how many people he wanted me to awaken, but if I don't have the goods, we're getting nowhere here. I don't think it'll be a problem, no. Can't be sure unless I try, but I'm reasonably sure it'll be fine. But I don't have enough energy left to pass out to other people, though. This was my attempt at nimbly turning Guy down without angering him. I actually had just over 100,000 souls left, but Guy couldn't have any way of knowing that. Surely he'd give up now. Right. So as long as you have souls to provide, you can do it, then. He's not giving up. Because you know, I once gave Misery about 10,000 of my own souls. It didn't trigger anything at all, though. No sign of her awakening or anything. So I thought I was just wasting my time with that approach. He can just pass on souls as is like that. These demons are pretty clever, aren't they? But that wouldn't cause an awakening. Understood. In order to incite an evolution, the requisite souls must be converted into the required form to be compatible with the target. Simply giving away souls is unlikely to have the desired effect. Furthermore, granting souls to other people is a highly inefficient use of energy, producing only about 10% of the anticipated value. Aha. So in order to make a would-be demon lord take root, you needed to give it the right sun and water and stuff. And of course, knowing how to do that is different from actually pulling it off. So would it be better to wait for his servants to spontaneously evolve, then? Negative. A monster named by a higher level being has its very nature altered. Even if it has souls it acquired on its own, that is unlikely to cause an awakening. So once they're named, that's the end of the evolution process. It's hard enough for someone to qualify for an awakening, but that sounds like quite the unexpected pitfall to me. The vast majority of monsters never qualify at all. Naming is a much more likely method of powering up, so maybe it's the same thing in the end. Misery, huh? Did you try it with Rain or anyone else? And actually, you were the one who named them, right? That's right. Again, well spotted. Well, there's your problem right there. Oh? When they're named by a higher level life form, that changes their nature enough that it won't work, it looks like. That sort of thing, huh? So it's a waste of time no matter how many souls I give them. But you've got a way to adapt the soul energy so it'll work on the target. I had to take a crash course from Raphael to figure all this out, but Guy was picking up on it super rapidly. Everything he said was right on the money, too. My approach ought to, yeah. Okay. I want to ask you a favor. Here we go. Now I was really starting to understand Guy's personality. Just so you know, all the souls in the world won't evolve someone if they don't qualify for the right. No problem there. Both of them meet the requirements just fine. You think you can awaken them for me? The way Guy was talking, his two maids were total garbage, useless in their current states. His evaluation standards are so weird. Based on what I heard, Misery and Rain are primals on the same level as Tensura and her gang. But he's just slamming them like this instead. And considering one of my own secretaries made a sport out of egging Guy on, I was getting more and more nervous by the moment. Well. Now it boils down to whether I have the souls I need. Okay, so it's only Misery and Rain you'd like to have awakened. Yeah. How many souls is that gonna take? For a self-awakening, it was 10,000. For a servant of mine in my soul lineage, it was a cool 100,000, 10 times as much. If I was working with unrelated third parties this time, I'm sure it'd be even more inefficient. So as for the number. Understood. 500,000 souls. 500,000. So 250,000 each. 25 times more than usual and over twice as many as a soul lineage job. It seemed like a ton, but if that's Raphael's quote, it has to be true. I think 500,000 would be enough for the two of them. Huh. That's all. Well, shoot, I got enough in me right now, then. I wouldn't even have to kill any more humans. He has them. And what was he gonna do if he didn't? Oh, you do? That's, good. A dry chuckle was about all I could let out. I might have been begging Guy to stop right now if the numbers didn't work out. I'm glad I didn't have to, but considering all the casualties lately, I kinda had mixed feelings about this. The difference in how we value souls and all that. I secretly prayed we didn't have any more conflicts of interest going forward.